After making the video about Larry Wills' situation, I have realized that I think he just likes being a cock, or maybe he's just milking the situation. I'm not certain about that, but what I've seen is that they have a live stream, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, where he was reading the chat, and the chat was talking about the situation about Rampage Jackson and obviously him being a cock, and his wife was also reading the same chat, and obviously I'm not sure why, but his wife was only mentioning the comments which we are talking about the situation, which was similar to Rampage's. So for example, she was reading things like, what if Jon Jones were to slap your girlfriend's ass? Then what would you do about that? And obviously Larry Wills was ashamed because he is only muscles and he cannot really fight. And even if he could fight, who is about to go against Jon Jones, right? Unless you have a gun, I don't think you necessarily have a chance. So he was obviously ashamed that he couldn't really do anything, and he also said that he would also pull up a gun in case Jon Jones was about to slap her ass. So and also one more thing is that I actually do not think that there was anybody who wrote such kind of comment. I think his wife just made it up just so she could get the reaction, or maybe she was actually imagining that happening because she would probably like that. But anyway, enough of the Larry Wills situation. Now I want to focus on immigrants, because I've been looking at videos about immigrants for a few years now, and I've always wanted to make a video about that, and now I kind of have time to do that. So I'm going to be reacting to Paul Joseph Watson's video where he mentions a lot of things about immigrants, and then I'm going to also add to the commentary. Now we can just watch the video, and then we will also speak about that.
I know, he's not going to the club, I know.
Pattern recognition detection activated.
You okay? You okay?
Something tells me they're not okay.
Honestly, I have to mention, I have no idea how this guy noticed that those girls were kind of kidnapped, I guess, because they were being pushed by those men. I think they are also Indian, or they are Arabic, which, I mean, not really a surprise at this point, but I'm not sure. His pattern recognition, or kind of like a spider senses, must have felt real high at that moment, because me personally, I wouldn't have noticed that those girls were being kidnapped, or anything similar to that was happening.
Okay? No? You're not okay?
They hang around nightclubs waiting to pounce on drunk girls.
You know these?
Yeah.
You know them, yeah?
Yeah. We are.
No, you don't know.
Together in the club.
Yeah, you're not with these, though, are you?
Yeah.
You're not with these, though, are you?
Time to feign confusion.
Sorry?
No, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy looks Indian. They also seem really weak. I think those girls, if they were about to punch them, they could probably knock them out easily, because the guy on the left seems like he's maybe a teenager, or maybe he's somewhere in the early 20s, and this guy looks older, but he also looks really weak. And if you actually look at them, those two actually look really innocent, but deep in their minds they are evil, which is again crazy. So it basically means that you cannot really trust anybody based on how they look, because somebody can look as innocent as they look, but in reality, they are just evil.
You're not with them, are you? You're in jogging bottoms. You ain't getting a no club in jogging bottoms. You were literally, I saw you pushing her. She looks scared for her life.
No, not at all, man.
What?
Okay. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Yes.
What are you doing all tonight?
Notices the camera.
She looks scared for her life, man.
Okay, man.
And then you're just walking away.
Okay.
I thought these like your love of your lives just said.
Yeah, not quite the outcome they anticipated.
What are you running for? Hey! Stop harassing girls, you weirdos!
The girls then thanked him.
Thank you so much.
I saw you walking, I was like, someone's not right, and I saw you in joggers.
Yeah, I was trying to put it off for a while, but I didn't know to. That was good bouncing off you. Thank you.
No, it's just literally I saw you.
How did you know?
Because we literally chased one down there before.
Oh, really?
I just got arrested, yeah. Well,
You know, here's the thing, right? Obviously, I'm not saying that what those men did was right, but I'm also saying that these girls, I'm pretty sure, despite what happened, they are going to go to the same club again tomorrow. And after that, they are going to go to the same club again. Something similar might happen. They are still going to go there. It's kind of, I guess, a bad habit that they do, despite the fact that what's going to happen, or despite the fact... I'm not actually saying that. I'm not actually justifying what those men did was right, or I'm not actually justifying the doing of those men. But I also have to mention those girls, despite the fact that this thing happened to them, and despite the fact that those two men almost kidnapped those two, they are still going to go to the same club tomorrow, and after that they are still going to do the same thing, which is obviously pretty bad. But I don't know, dude, like, these kind of women seem to have either no brain, or I guess they are too much into their minds. I'm not sure, or maybe they just lack the attention. I'm not sure. But again, as I've mentioned, I'm going to say something, and obviously this is not going to be justifying the man's behavior, but despite the fact of what these men did, and obviously it being really bad, these kind of girls, I'm pretty sure they're going to go to the same club again, knowing what's going to happen again. After that day, they are probably going to go to the same club again, or maybe a different club, despite knowing what's going to happen, or despite knowing what could happen. And I don't know, I guess this is kind of their habit, or maybe they just lack the attention from men, or maybe there is something else which I have no clue about, but they never learn, which is a sad reality of those kind of girls. Why do you put yourself into that kind of situation, knowing what kind of men you could be around, knowing that men in those situations are mostly drunk and they're going to obviously do something to you, knowing that men are probably going to be high in those kind of environments, and you still decide to go there, and then something happens to you, and obviously it's pretty bad. I'm not going to say that obviously it's men's fault, because it is obviously men's fault that they actually did something and they could not refrain themselves from doing anything bad to you. But why do you also put yourself into these kind of situations? Or maybe actually if there is like a billionaire or a millionaire woman, these kind of women should make bars or parties specifically for women, so no men can go inside there, or no men can come outside from there, only women can go in there. So if you have to go in those kind of environments, then you can just go there where only women will be allowed and no men will be allowed there, and you will obviously feel safer there. So I don't know, I think that's kind of a good idea, I guess. Hopefully somebody does that, similar to what they do in terms of gyms. As you know, most gyms in today's world are specifically for women, or specifically for men, or they are just both mixed. And if somebody does not feel comfortable with men around, or if somebody doesn't feel comfortable with women around, they just go to those gyms that are specifically for those genders, and everybody just feels safe there. I think they should also do the same thing in terms of clubs. But obviously this is not me justifying what those men did. I'm just saying that I think that would be much safer.
See, the police aren't here now. They've all gone home.
They just come all the time now.
Yeah, it's quite a common occurrence, isn't it? Same YouTuber, Mr. Manchester, caught 3 different sets of pervs in the same area in the same 1 hour time window. And suffice to say, pattern recognition truly never fails.
What are you doing then? You're harassing girls all night. You're harassing all girls all night. What are you doing tonight, mate? You've been on camera, I've seen you approach 3 different girls. So what are you doing tonight?
What are you talking about? Get your phone out if you're not taking girls. I'm not
What are you doing,
anything.
mate?
I haven't done anything. What are you talking about?
What are you doing all night then? What are you doing tonight? What are you doing tonight?
Look at this.
They also apparently pretend to be taxi drivers offering free rides home, only to girls though.
All of it is not safe. That's all I've heard, not safe. All I've heard is not safe from the officer, but that's it.
You're not safe.
No, that's what I just walked onto. I know.
Don't drop up. Don't drop up. Don't worry about you getting arrested, but in the end of the day... What's happened, ladies?
What have you done?
Do you see? Like, I want to make this video about immigrants and how bad they are for any country. I just cannot just overlook this kind of situation as well. Why are they in a random taxi, especially when they are this drunk, somewhere in a place where you know that those immigrants are also there, right? Why would you do this to yourself? Why are you this drunk? She can barely walk. Other girl also can barely walk. what you guys are going to do in a situation if some idiot immigrants, or even if somebody who is drunk just comes up to you and cannot control himself and does something bad? Why do you guys put yourselves into these kind of situations? I just don't get it. But again, I also do not understand why the governments are putting those immigrants into those countries. It's almost like a trend. Every single country is almost obligated to put those immigrants into their country. And the worst part is that those countries and those governments care more about the immigrants than they care about their own people. For example, in British government, or in UK, if somebody posts anything about immigrants being disrespectful or immigrants being bad people, for example, I guess having intimate relationships with children or anything like that, those people who are posting about them and also spreading the awareness are going to be jailed, or they're going to be prosecuted. But those immigrants who are actually doing those acts, they are going to have nothing against them, so they're pretty much free to go. And this happens because the government and the police and the judges in general, judges are mostly either Indian or Arabic or anything like that, like similar to those kind of criminals. So obviously they're going to defend their own people, but they are also defending them by saying that in their own countries. So for example, if somebody is from Iraq or somebody is a Muslim, they are saying that it's fine for them to do that because they don't know any better. So just because this kind of guy or this Muslim guy did something to a child, it's fine. Because he didn't know any better, so that's why we cannot jail him. He's just going to be an asylum seeker, or like, it's actually crazy how these governments are trying to kind of sneak those criminals out of the system and not put them into jail. Another thing is that the British people themselves are also brain dead. Like, most of them are actually brain dead, especially women. Again, I don't necessarily want to talk down about women, but from what I've seen, it's mostly either feminine men or it's women that are saying that if you put up a British flag in UK, then that means you are either racist or you are homophobic or you just hate people in general, which is, again, it's just so dumb. These kind of people who think that way go into somebody's property. For example, if I have a yard and I put up my flag there, somebody is going to come into my yard and then take down the flag just because that person thinks that I'm either homophobic or I'm racist because I have my own country's flag in my yard. And then they're going to justify it to the police by saying that that person who took down the flag felt either discriminated or felt that I was racist or felt that I had some kind of hatred towards people, which again is an insane thing to do. And obviously nothing happens to them. Government doesn't say that he was trespassing or she was trespassing. Nothing happens. They just take down the flag. They just ruin my yard. They just ruin the flag I bought, which is of my country. And it's crazy. I will show you some examples as well. I think they are in this video somewhere at the end.
Leftists have discovered one simple trick that enables them to casually dismiss that any of this is happening. The Epstein files. You know who's not in the Epstein files? Immigrants, Muslims and trans people. You know who is? Billionaires. Wow, I'm sure this'll bring a huge sigh of relief to the thousands of girls in the UK who've been abused and trafficked by Islamic grooming gangs for decades. Because
this is actually funny in kind of an unfortunate way, because what you are saying is you are justifying those criminals and saying that what they have done to those children or what they have done to those girls or what they are going to do to them is fine because you don't see the Muslims or Indians or these kind of people in those Epstein files, which you probably do. I personally wouldn't really exclude them from being in those Epstein files because I'm sure there are some Muslims and Indians in those files. But still, what kind of a justification that is of women being raped by those Indian or Muslim men? Like, why? How do you even come to that conclusion? That just because they are not in Epstein files, that means every single Muslim or every single Indian is now great for some reason? And also, how are you going to tell that to somebody who was a victim of those things? So, for example, if a girl was a victim of being or victim of sexual abuse, and then the guy who sexually abused her was somebody from a Arabic country or he was Indian or something similar to that, and you go to them and you say, well, it is really sad that you got abused, but at least those people were not in Epstein files, so it must have been a wind, or it must have been something else, or it must have been somebody else. You would not be sexually abused by a Arabic person or a Muslim or anything like that. Like, do you see how dumb that is? Like, how do these people even come to that conclusion?
Their abusers weren't in the Epstein files. Yeah, that mother who's petrified of her daughter being followed and harassed by random foreign men outside the local migrant hotel can rest easy in the knowledge that at least none of those predators were in the Epstein files. I mean, yeah, they might be about to pounce on her child, but they're not in the files.
The girl was high.
Yeah, as long as they are not in the files, then I guess you should be fine about that. And about your child going to school alone or coming back from school at night alone. So again, what I want to also say is that why do these countries bring those immigrants into their countries as well? Like, what's their issue? Is there not enough people in those countries? Or is it that there are too many people in those Arabic and Muslim countries that they have to distribute those people into different European countries or even USA at this point? Or I do not understand. If we take an example of China has, I think, 2 billion people. I think they have the most people in this in the country. Why do the Chinese people, or why do the Chinese president or whoever the person is, why does he not distribute those Chinese people into many other countries? Because I see, how do I say, every single time I go outside, I see at least 20 or 30 Indian around me, but I do not see a single Chinese person or Japanese person or anybody like that. It's always either Muslims, it's always Indians, or it's always some people like that. Obviously, it's not the government, right? The government is not distributing them through Europe. And also Chinese, what I want to say about the Chinese people is that Chinese people should be the ones that are being distributed through these countries, because from what I've known, actually from history, is that the Chinese government has always wanted to learn a few things from Europe and then bring that knowledge to China, so then they could actually work on those things that they've learned in Europe, so then they could also improve upon them. So I would not be surprised if Chinese people were doing that. But when it's the Muslims and Indians and people from those Arabic countries coming to those countries to do fuck all, like, they don't learn anything, they are not here to bring any knowledge, they are not here to absorb any kind of situations to then bring it back to their own countries and use them for their favor. They just come here in order to sexually assault people, and they don't even go to jail, or they do not even get deported. They just go there, abuse people, abuse the laws, and go on about their days. So again, what I want to say by that is, what kind of benefits do these people bring to the country, to their own country, or even to the country that they are going to? Nothing. Like, literally no benefit. And yet all those countries are bringing them back. I think Spain is the great example as well to why they are bringing those people into their own countries. Spain did something which is that if somebody was an immigrant in the country and if somebody actually sneaked into their borders, they are going to be illegal for 1 year straight, so that they can vote and elect the same government. I think that's the reason. I think it's just a political thing, because, for example, if people are against one political party, but they are leaning towards the other political party, which is not in the government yet, but which is obviously going to get to the government and take over the first party. The first party, which is already inside the government, obviously wants to stay there. So what they're going to do is those kind of illegal stuff. So, for example, bringing a lot of immigrants to the country, giving them the permit to live there, giving them the citizenship, so that they can also vote to that party, so the party can stay in the government and stay the ruler of the country. I think that's just the main thing to why those countries do that, and why those countries bring those immigrants to their own country. They do not care about what the locals are going through because of those people that they have brought from other countries. Nothing. As long as they are in the power, they do not care about anything or anybody, in fact.
Because you could see the blue lights still there, literally within the hour.
But when you look at these pictures here...
He hadn't spoken to anyone prior. That's obvious. He hadn't spoken to anyone prior. And now all of a sudden he's up there dancing. He's celebrating, dancing on my daughter's grave.
Yeah, but he was...
Well, at least he wasn't in the Epstein files. And you know what's also going to happen to that guy? Nothing. No deportation, no jail, no persecution, nothing. He's probably going to be set to be an asylum seeker or something similar to that, and he's going to go and roam the street again or wander the street. Nothing is going to happen to the guy. He can obviously dance about it, and he can obviously smile about it, because he knows that the government is not going to do jack shit about what he did. He murdered somebody. Nothing is going to happen to him. He's going to do the same thing tomorrow, the same thing after tomorrow, and just gonna keep doing everything he can to damage the country, because they are immigrants. They do not care about the history of the country. They do not know the history of the country. They do not appreciate the people that are in those countries, because they are not the same people, obviously. Why do Muslims and also Christians have always been in war with each other? Because they do not like each other. I mean, most of them do not, at least. And mixing them with each other is obviously not going to create any kind of situation which is going to be beneficial for either side. Why do you guys do that, those governments? Just so you can be set at some royal place? You don't care about how your people feel about you?
It seems like many of them are more afraid of flags.
I'm taking the flags down. I find it really offensive. I think we've got no humanity left in this country.
Do you see what kind of a brain dead person she is? What are you talking about? If I live in UK, and if I'm also a citizen of UK, and if I was born there, I have every single right to put up the British flag, because that's my country. I appreciate the country because the country is the one where I've grown up in. Why do you feel the need to take down my flag or take down the country's flag? You are also British, you fucking moron. Like, this is actually crazy. These kind of things happen firstly because of the government, which I've already mentioned, and second because brain-dead people like these live in those countries. Why do you care if somebody has a British flag? In my country, and also near my city and near the place where I live, there is a huge flag of my country. And just imagine that somebody, some kind of a brainlet like her, goes there and tears down the flag because she thinks that by representing the flag, it means that the country or the city or the state is racist or homophobic. Like, what do you have in your brain that makes you think like that?
Shocking. It's racist. The fact that this big man is aggressively standing in front of me.
What is racist about that? I would like to hear, and I would also like to know the argument. Like, what is racist about putting up your flag, putting up your own country's flag? What's racist about that? I honestly wonder.
Raging and then pulling these flags back off me.
Obviously, he's pulling the flags off you fucking donut. What do you think? Why? Because he purchased them. It's his own property that you are tearing down. Obviously, he's taking them back from you fucking retard.
Says it all. Says it all. There's so much hatred. Where's the love? Where's the humanity? I have no words. I find it disgusting.
And many of them have just as much sympathy with the perpetrators as the victims.
Because when there are incidents like the one that happened last I think it was in the summer with the rape and what have you and things. I mean, it's just devastating. It just, lives are ruined all round. The asylum seekers, these very young people, their lives are ruined.
Okay, so the asylum seekers' lives were ruined, right? So what about the women that were raped by those asylum seekers and nothing happened to them? But those women now have to live with the trauma that those asylum seekers have caused to them. Like, what kind of brains do these people have? You guys know the movie, but I'm trying... I don't know if you guys know, but there is a movie called Taken, which is actually a great movie, and I watched it like a few weeks ago, I believe. The movie is about a father who tries to save his daughter from being kidnapped and from being sold at like an auction because she's a virgin. And in that movie, when the girl gets captured in France, the father lives in the USA, so obviously he goes from US to France, and he tries to find the person who kidnapped the girl. And as he's doing that, it turns out that the father has a friend who's like like a royal person, or the guy is known because he rules the police or something like that. And what happens is that the guy who rules the police does nothing about those immigrants. He doesn't help the father. He doesn't even want to help the father, because he says that as long as my children or I am not involved, then I'm not going to help you. The father obviously does not follow his orders. The guy who is the ruler of the police, so to say, he tries to get the father to go back to US and forget about his daughter, but obviously he doesn't do that. He wants to find the daughter as quickly as possible so that she doesn't get sold on auction for being a virgin, or she doesn't get drugged and then raped by those immigrant men. The guy who rules the police tries his best to tell him that he needs to go back. He needs to go back to US and never come back, and just forget about the daughter, because the daughter is probably either dead or probably is sold. And I think this is kind of the same mentality that those women and those people in those countries have. The same mentality as the guy who was the ruler of the police, or who was the agent, I guess. As long as nothing bad happens to them, they are not going to bother. As long as those children of that agent were fine, he was not going to do anything about those immigrants. But if it's about somebody else's story, then they don't care, as those women. Before it happens to them, those kind of bad things, which I'm obviously not wishing to them to happen, but before it happens to them, they are not going to care about those women that are being raped every single day, because it doesn't happen to them. They do not realize it, they do not know it exists, or maybe they do know it exists, but they are going to close their eyes about that because it doesn't happen to them. So that's the thing. That's also the same mentality. If you watch the movie Taken, I think it's a great representation of what these immigrants are doing in those countries. They are taking the women, they are drugging the women, and they are doing all kinds of bad things to them. And obviously the government doesn't care about that, because it is not them that are involved in these kinds of situations. It is either the citizens, or it is the lower level of the society, like average people that are being abused by those immigrants. And until it happens to them, they are not going to do anything. I hope you get the point, and I'm obviously not going to talk about it too much, because I think the video is longer than it has to be. So yeah, that was pretty much it, and now I'm going to say goodbye. If you like the video, then just like it, subscribe, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Peace out.